Yeah, the football can wait until later, can't it? If you're into that sort of thing, certainly. But wherever you're watching today, whether it's here in the UK, whether it's exclusively live on Fancode in India, or whether it's somewhere else across the globe, hello there. Welcome to the Seat Unique Riverside in Chester Street, and welcome along to Durham Live, the only place where you can catch every single second of Durham's white ball cricketing summer, and the only place, hopefully, fingers crossed, you can catch exclusive coverage of this, Durham against the Northamptonshire Steelbacks. And I say fingers crossed, folks, because the weather is not great here in the northeast of England. And when I say not great, it's been raining pretty solidly for the last 2 or 3 hours or so, especially as well last night as well. So we are hoping, as you can see by the pictures, it doesn't look particularly fantastic right now, but we are hoping that we can maybe catch a couple of overs this Sunday afternoon, but things aren't necessarily looking good. Even so, I'm Andy Sixsmith, and across from our Daffy News studio, we'll be still bringing you a half-hour preview show where we're going to be talking about all sorts of things. So that's coming up before hopefully we see some cricket in Chester Street this afternoon. We shall have to wait and see. But after Borthwick and Mutchell opened the batting on Friday night in that win against the Outlaws, we've made a change to our bowling attack, and fresh from England duty, straight back into the bowling attack is Mr. Steve Harmison from the Durham Live end. Harmy, good to see you. Good test match, wasn't it?
It was a good test match. Not if you're from the West Indies point of view. They weren't very good, to be fair, but like I said many times over different platforms, I'm not going to criticise the West Indies. That's their system, and their system is broken.
Yeah.
But I think English system is starting to look for something new, and I think now the involvement of Anderson and Broad, they've obviously gone aside. Good signs from Gus Atkinson. Mark Wood goes into the next test match from obviously Durham's Mark Wood. I was really not surprised at the way England performed, but I was surprised at how ruthless they were. The catching was fantastic. I thought the all-round body language was great. It's easy when you're on top of a team, but I thought all in all it was arguably the perfect performance to send off one of England's all-time greats. And I mean, probably the greatest cricketer that's ever played cricket for England, and Jimmy Anderson. And to be there at the end, and I was there at the start because I was in the dressing room when he made his debut, and to see him at the end, the way he was sent off was brilliant. It really was.
Did you manage to catch a word with him? How was he at the end?
No, I've not had any contact with him during that time. I sent him a message, and I think he's still drunk. He's looking at that the Guinness on the balcony. I know one thing: he'd have been very, very annoying after that Guinness, because when he's drunk, he is a chow sometimes. But look, he deserves waking up with a bad head in the last 2 days. I'm sure he went on it again yesterday to celebrate what was a fantastic career. But I think I'm with him next week playing golf. So I look forward to hearing the tale of that. The MCC members must have been spewing, seeing one of their cricketers down a pint of Guinness in the great building. I mean, they would not have been happy, but I think they have to give him some leeway because of the career he's had.
We'll wait to hear those tales from you and Jimmy Anderson on the golf course in the One Day Cup. Most certainly, we'll have a chat about that. I thought what struck me about it, and we will talk about Durham in a second, but as you saw from the pictures earlier, it is raining, so we'll update that in a second. But one of the things that struck me, I saw a video on social media doing the rounds of Jimmy basically bowling at kids on the pitch, and that sums him up really.
Yeah, he was. He was bowling at Ben Stokes' son and daughter.
Yeah,
I think Collie's kids were there. I think Joe's kids were there. Joe Root's kids were there. I think Jimmy was bowling. Collie was witty. He had the witty keeping gloves on, and I think the kids were sort of milling around on the hallowed turf of Lord's. And Lord, look, to be fair, I'm a massive kicker of the establishment. Coming from the northeast of England, they didn't like me, so they're brought up in a different way. But Lords were excellent this week as well.
Yeah.
I did a cricket show this morning. All the leftover food, everything that was in the waste. I mean, the food banks came in over the last 2 days to have people that have been sort of less fortunate to come and sort of make sure that they get a piece of what's been left over. And I think the people that got on the field just after play to witness and get up close to some of the England players on the balcony. That was new from Lords as well. So cricket times are changing, and I mean, it was a good week for the MCC. It was a good week for the England cricket team, and it was a great week to send off one of England's all-time greats.
Absolutely. Good effort from everyone all round. Listen, focusing on Durham, I won't say who, but someone was saying, look, the test match has finished early. Steve Harmison should be getting straight back onto the A1 and getting right back up here for the Notts Outlaws. You weren't here, obviously. I won't say who it was. It was Scott Borthwick. But still, did you manage to catch any of the game on Friday night?
I seen bits of it. The train journey on the way home. I got the train home, and the Wi-Fi is not the best on that train, so I didn't see all of it. I seen bits and pieces of it. Look, I think Durham, like everybody else in this country, I don't think anybody's been consistent. No. They've been they've won games in a row, but not really, nailed it. Where you think Durham have done it, or Surrey have done it in the southern section. Birmingham have had, some success in this tournament so far. Yeah. But then lost to two teams that probably didn't think they'd lose to. So I think Durham will be kicking themselves if they're really brutally honest. I think the game against Leicester here didn't play at Notts after getting off to a really good start, and there was another one away. I can't remember which one it was. And you're thinking if had it been a little bit more consistency in the side, you might be sitting top of the league, second in the league, and out of sight, not worrying about the rain. But they are where they are. I still think they've got a great chance of qualifying. It would be great to play today, because if Durham had won today, focusing on Durham, then all of a sudden Northampton, if Durham win on Friday against Derby, then Northampton couldn't catch Durham, and they're one of the teams close by. So I think it doesn't look like we're going to get play. I'd be very, very surprised if we play anything today. So 14 points going into that last game. Is 16 points going to be enough? Probably would be to get fourth place. But it wouldn't be ideal, because then you'd have to go to this Surrey to play at the Oval off the back of a 4-day game later on in September. When Surrey will have an A-list side out. Yeah,
I mean, looking over your shoulder, where we are in the Daffy News studio, we can have windows to our left-hand side, so we've got a bird's eye view of what is happening weather-wise around Chester Street right now, and to say it doesn't look good would be an understatement. There's that shot of the pitch. Undercovers, once again, that extends right out to the boundaries as well. The weather not great here in Chester Street at the minute. Harmy, you've just said there, I mean, we'd be surprised to see anything. We haven't had anything official through as of yet. Obviously, we have a delayed start, as you can see from the time that we're on air as well. But it's a right unfortunate series of events, isn't it? The fact that we've got down to this final home game. We haven't missed a single second due to rain at home all season. And in this huge game that it was going to be against the Steelbacks, and still could be, we've got rain affecting it.
Yeah, when you look at it, the summer we've had, or summer we haven't had yet, I'm amazed we've got through 6 games without any interruptions. So I think you can be thankful for small mercies that we have got the cricket we've got. It's just unfortunate that when it comes down to the nitty gritty, when you are fighting for just 1 point, that could get you over the line, and that's a simple. The scenario would be if Durham were to win this game and win on Friday night, then one of the teams like Northampton, who are in and around them, can't get to 17 points. So I think it always gets more frustrating the later you go on, because obviously the permutations get a little bit closer.
But of course it puts more pressure on us, if we can't get a game today, to go down to Derbyshire Friday night. Derbyshire, obviously one of the teams in the fight for the top 4, puts a little bit more pressure on us, doesn't it?
It does, but I think we've played some of our best cricket away from home. So I think we've been quite good here, but I think we've done some good stuff on the road. So it's just doubly frustrating that the actual qualifications for top 4 is in our hands, and possibly with a 1-pointer, it might not be as in our hands when we get to the later part of next week.
As ever, you come into the studio, you've got your book of research, you've got your book of notes. I mean, we wouldn't expect anything less from you, Harmy. And you were showing us before, weren't you, obviously, the remaining fixtures for our competitors as well, the likes of Derbyshire, the likes of Steelbacks as well. That's where it comes in too, isn't it? Because there's a few of those fixtures that look and tasty. Steelbacks, I mean, they've got Lancs and Birmingham away from home, haven't they?
Yeah, Northampton have got obviously Durham tonight, and then they've got the big two, the top 2 in the division, but they might be through by then. So you're not sure how teams play like that. You look at Yorkshire are 6th, I think, in the league, 6th or 7th in the league with 11 points. And I think they've got Worcester tonight and Notts. Now they're both more or less out of the reckoning for top 4. So if Yorkshire were to go and get 4 points, that's them on 15. Durham get a point tonight, 14. You don't know what the weather's going to be like further down next week. So all these things are, the ifs and buts and maybes that go into that. Durham needed to play. They need to win because that means that we out of the hands. It would take Northampton out of the equation. You would take Yorkshire out of the equation. And the likelihood is if you won tonight and won on Friday, you'd finish third. Yeah. And then if you finish third, the likelihood is you miss Surrey. Yeah. And I don't want to build Surrey up but they look as probably the form team in this competition. And when you get to the quarter-final stage and all their England players are available, I mean, that is a star-studded lineup at the Oval and probably would be a full house. It would be a great occasion to go and play there. Yeah. But I think if I was going to play Surrey, I'd want to play them on finals day when they're under a little bit more pressure than what there would be just playing a quarter final at home.
Absolutely, and bearing in mind, the weather and everything that might not transpire today, how frustrating will it be for the boys in the dressing room at the minute, and Ryan Campbell as well, to kind of look at it and think, we've done some decent work at home this season, and it could come down to this.
It is. It's so frustrating as a player. And I've just been in the indoor school. I had my son and nephew. We went to with Thorpe. We went to see Alan Walker. Alan Walker's he was sidearming, trying to keep out the way of Colin Ackerman, and Colin Ackerman was hitting it miles, and it was like. So if I was in there, I'd be going. I think Ollie Robinson was standing behind, and he was like, "Come on, Ackers, you're about 185 not out here the way you played." If you're in that dressing room, you'd be wanting someone like Colin Ackerman to go out there because he's got a bit of form. He's got 70 behind him in recent games. He looks in good touch. There are players who will be thinking, right, this is my purple patch. You always get 2 or 3 weeks in the season where you're on top of your game. Yeah. And sometimes the rain just might derail you a little bit. So that's what will probably frustrate the boys in the dressing room at the minute.
Absolutely. Well, listen, fingers crossed. We are a positive bunch here on Durham Live in the Daffy News studio. I mean, looking at those pictures out there right now here in Chestler Street, there's only so much positivity we can have. But hopefully we will get some play today. Here is the first place that you can catch up with things and get all of your updates from as well as Durham's social media feeds, obviously on Twitter. If you want to get in touch with us, use the hashtag For The North. We are on YouTube as well, so do drop us a message in the comments section. But me and Harmy were both referencing it. We were looking to come into this game off the back of a superb performance, a resounding win, a professional win over Notts on Friday night. If you didn't manage to catch that game, then here are the highlights for your viewing pleasure.
From ball one, you always want to be in the game at the end as well.
Change of bowling. Ollie Stone is into the attack, and Ollie Robinson is flicking his namesake on the first name basis down the leg side for 4 runs. Great minds think alike.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that one. Shot. Turner, just a little flick of the wrists to get it just in between the gap of wicketkeeper and in the slot, and Turner thumps that straight back past him with venom.
Oh, the ball.
And the ball wins the race to the boundary.
Great button, great shot.
You've got change of pace, so if you can bowl googlies and flippers and everything, the batter can't line you up.
Over the bowler's head, and that will be a well-needed boundary for Durham. Colin Ackerman hits his first of the innings. Durham move now in.
Oh, wide.
Full wide slow when Ashton Turner gets Durham a well-needed boundary.
Just it. Then why not play it in the nets in the game? Sorry. Great batting from Ben Rain. That amazing. See, because he did that sweep shot, they've had to put fine leg back.
It's called it. Will it happen? Ollie Stone to Ben Rain.
Oh, ball.
It's gone the other side.
Shot. What a shot that is.
It's gone the other side, but Ben Rain won't care about Scott Borthwick's predictions. He cares he's got 4 runs for that shot.
You got so up.
Callum Parkinson back into the attack. A huge WW shower given. There's the celebration from Callum Parkinson.
That's out.
High. Who wants it? The skipper wants it. The skipper gets it.
Get away without any boundaries then.
Oh, he might be picking up a wicket here. He is indeed. Graham Clark.
What is going on?
Oh, up in the air.
Yeah.
And a brilliant diving catch from the skipper. Big attempt at a shot. A very good tumbling catch from Baz de Leede.
The more you rotate, the less time the batter's
Oh,
got a chance.
Nathan Salter. Have some of that. Sorry, Kurt.
Looks like
High, handsome. Who wants it? Graham Clark does. The 9th goes down. Notts' night is ending in terror.
So like we say, a resounding win for Durham on Friday night over the Notts Outlaws. They put them in a fantastic position ahead of today's game against the Northamptonshire Steelbacks. But if you are just joining us here on Durham Live, the weather doesn't look too positive here at the Seat Unique Riverside in Chester Street. And it looks as if we're going to be struggling to get any play whatsoever today. Which is a good job that we had two cracking blokes like Steve Harmison, who we've just been speaking to, and, of course, Chubby. How we doing? You all right? It's good to be back, isn't it?
It's good to be back.
Just not the weather.
Disappointing with the weather, but it does. As they used to say, it looks dark over Bill's mothers.
Fair enough. I couldn't say it any better myself, most certainly. Listen, let's look back at those highlights, because there were several highlights to kind of pick up on. Let's talk about the baton first, because there was one over in particular, Ben Rain off Ollie Stone, and it just broke things. I think there was 21 off the over. That pretty much put Durham in a good position over 160, Harmy, didn't it?
They did, yeah, because Durham didn't start the greatest. You know, in this tournament so far, Clark and Lees have been excellent. They really have, and when they have faltered at the top, they've been helped out further down the line.
Yeah.
But in this game, obviously Ashton Turner showed his international experience. He managed to keep one end going. And then there was one over. You know when in a game like that, you've got a total in mind. One over changes not only that first innings, but it has an effect in the next innings.
Yeah.
And Ben Rain did that off Ollie Stone. And Ollie Stone is no mug. He's a proper bowler who will play international cricket again, I think, if he stays fit.
Yeah.
So for 21 off that over, that was a big momentum shift, and it moved into, obviously, the bowling department.
Yeah, I mean, we normally talk about Ben Rain when it comes down to the bowling. He's the leading wicket taker for Durham in the T20 so far this season. But the bowling, really, the plaudits, Chubby, have to go to the spinners, don't they? Park South.
They do, and I mean, I think in all of the games this year, the spinners have bowled really well.
Yeah.
You know, you can bowl well and not have a great day if somebody manages to get hold of you a little bit. But I think from what I've seen in all of the games, I've been really impressed with the way the spinners have bowled. Just watching the leg spinner knock a couple of stumps out there, I'm so jealous. I never did that my whole career. But I just noticed, all joking aside, generally, I think they have done really well.
Yeah.
Going back to the batting just quickly, though, we saw exactly the same thing in the Worcester game, where I think we said at the start of the game 160 is a decent score. Suddenly a couple of good overs at the end, and all of a sudden 190. You just thought, yeah, that's going to be too many.
Yeah.
So you're right. A good couple of overs with the bat, it takes it through into the ball as well. It gives the bowlers just a little bit more comfort.
And it was the intensity as well. I mean, Scott Borthwick, rather, in the studio was making some primeval noises at the level of fielding from Durham, not just the bowling, but in the outfield as well. But it was the intensity that they were bringing and the fire that they were bringing as well, Harmy. You saw Parky celebrate a couple of those wickets as if he was Ollie Watkins in the Euro 2024 semi-final.
He does, though. That's the beauty about Callum. He's very excitable. A little bit like a former England left spinner that I played with, Monty Panesar. He's like, every wicket means so much to him, and it's so good that he has that enthusiasm. But like Chubb said, I think the two spin bowlers especially have been the main bedrock of the way Alex Lees has been manipulated and squeezed, especially second innings here. Yeah. I think second innings is here. We've been very, very good. And I think largely down to, I think the accuracy of Nathan Souter, who, I mean, he challenges the stumps. For a leg spinner to challenge the stumps all the time is huge. And I think, obviously, I think Callum's ability to bowl any one of the 20 overs, so he can bowl the first one, he can bowl the last one, he can bowl any time in between. I think his cricket brain is very, very good, and I think because of that mixed together, thrown in with obviously the experience of Rain, a little bit of pace of the overseas, I think that's why Durham have bowled really, really well second innings in games at this ground.
And it's that bowling that's put Durham in such a good position in terms of qualification. Third, we were talking about it before, Chubby, what Durham are going to do in terms of qualification. It makes it even more frustrating what we're seeing coming down out the sky today, doesn't it?
It does. It is frustrating. And Harmy's just made a really good point there. I think a couple of the previous games, Yorkshire and Worcestershire, when we've been defending, particularly in the evening games where the conditions can change a little bit as the evening goes on. The seamers have been more effective towards the end of the innings than they have been at the start. They've looked like they were going to concede quite comfortably at the start. But Delete came back, and I think Hammy mentioned it earlier on previous weeks, where I think it was a Yorkshire game. He probably bowled the 17th over, having not bowled during the whole game, and bowled a really good over. He came on against Worcester, probably in the middle of the innings, where Worcester were just looking to try and accelerate a little bit, and bowled really well then as well. So there's really good variety within the attack, and as we've said, the spinners are both doing a really good job.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely devastated that Baz Delayder's wicket on Friday night did not make it in. It's probably one of the worst balls he's ever bowled that picked up a wicket. I can't remember who the batsman was. Full toss, and it was a shocker, but sad to see that not in the heart. Listen, with it raining and everything, we're not necessarily going to go too much into depth because we might not see any action necessarily this afternoon. So we racked our brains in the production office here on Durham Live, and we were thinking, you know what, if the rain does come down in Chester Street, what the heck are we going to do? Because as much as anyone would want to listen to you two, they certainly don't want to listen to my voice. So we came up with this idea, bearing in mind we have such Durham luminaries like Sam Brown and Steve Harmison in the studio. What can we get them to do? Well, we came up with the idea of an all-time Durham 11 for each of them. So let's see who we're going to go with first. We're going to bring a graphic up on the screen, and we are going to show the all-time Durham 11. Maybe we'll go with Steve Harmison first. Here we go. Right, Harmy, talk to us. The first thing I'm going to say is you haven't picked yourself, but
No.
you have picked a certain Simon Brown.
I have picked a certain Simon Brown. We were talking about how we'd fill some time, and these teams are all-time 11s that you played with two overseas players. I know there's some names there where people might think they're overseas, but Shivnarine Chandapal and David Boone are the two overseas players. I first came into the side, John Lewis, JJ Lewis, who was captain of this club for 4 or 5 years, who I think built the bedrock of what the trophy-winning sides were moved on to and then from, because John Lewis had a lot of young players when he was captain of the team, but JJ was a fantastic player. Yep. Michael Divinito. I remember Martin Moxon saying to me, who would you go for overseas if you could get a chance? And I said, the only person I can't bowl to in county cricket is Michael Divinito. I said, I can't. The way you bowled at Diver was half volleys on off stump. Yeah. And if you bowled a half volley on off stump, you had a chance of getting Diver out. But if you bowled a little bit shorter than that, he would cut you. And that's my bounce. That's my game was over. Yeah. So Diver was somebody who I wanted to. I'd love to see him come and play. The middle order, self-explanatory. Paul Collin was got a stand named after him here. Me and Collie played a lot of international cricket together. If Shiv got in more than 30 balls, he was a fast bowler's dream. He was a fast bowler's dream. You knew you had 4 hours on you. You had 4 hours lying down if you had Shivnarine Chandapal coming in, and he was huge for that side that won in 08, 09. Yeah. He was massive. And I'll come on to, when my graphic goes off, I'll come on to a couple of stories from different players and that. But David Boone taught me, along with Chubb, taught me a hell of a lot about the game of cricket from an experience point of view. Chubb was playing for England when I first started playing for Durham, and David Boone, 107 Test matches I think it was. He was, an amazing character. Benkenstein, probably a better captain than anybody else that I'd played with. And a wonderful, wonderful player, and boy wonder. Actually, two boy wonders of different skills in numbers 7 and 8. But can you imagine trying to get through that top 6 and seeing Stokes come in at 7? We're mustered at 8. Ben Stokes has gone on to be the greatest all rounder. Yeah. Well, one of the greatest all-rounders, because the other one I'm sure is in Chubb's team in a second, and the Colonel, I think we heard him for the first time on Friday. Yeah. It was always a worry of mine that we let Philip Mustard live on a microphone, but
he took to it like a duck to water.
Did he? Yeah. Oh well, he wasn't always a duck to water when he was on the field. And then the 3 bowlers off the back of that, Plunkett, Onions, Brown, they've all played international cricket. Yeah. So Liam won the 2019 World Cup. Graham, I think Graham took over Simon's record when he was the first person to take over Simon's record when he was here, now bowling coach. Onions was a phenomenal player, and like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago off a joke, I've never had a go at him on air because I've got too much respect for him. But Simon Brown taught me everything I needed to know about cricket, and then because I couldn't drive my first year here, I couldn't drive, and Chubby was the furthest north. I used to get lifts and get dropped off at Chubb's, so everywhere I went, Chubby took me everywhere, and he taught me a hell of a lot of things that I didn't need to know about being a professional cricketer as well. And as we'll see,
we need to go into them, Army, or not?
I'm not sure the Indian viewers will really get some of them stories, but it's for me, it's a phenomenal side. Yeah. It tells me how proud I was to play alongside these guys. I mean, there's international caps there, like you'd not believe. There's trophy winners there. I mean, there's all-time greats there. When you look at Boone and Chanderpaul, and I mean, Collie playing won. There's multiple like trophy winners there. And the one thing, the beauty about this cricket club is the blokes that you played with. And I mean, the blokes that you shared a dressing room with, and you went on tour with, and you went different places down the road. And I mentioned Shiv, and we love Worcester, don't we? Worcester's a great venue to play cricket. And the best one we had with Shiv was we had won the championship, right? So we had won the championship with 4 games to go. And the week before, I'd played an Ashes series, and I'd won the Ashes at the Oval. So I was in a good frame of mind to go to Worcester just to celebrate really well. And in the middle of the game, Shiv got in, and I mean we had been drinking for the best part of 3 days. No interest in the cricket whatsoever. I don't even think I put my boots on for the second innings. I remember one coming to me at mid-off. He could have easily rolled it at me, and it went straight through me. I literally couldn't see. I was that bad. I was that hungover. We celebrated that much, and the one person that didn't obviously drink as much was Shiv. And so Shiv went out there to bat, and we were like, "Just Shiv, please bat all day." And he did. He batted all day. And Jeff Cook, being Jeff wanted to do things properly and make sure we got, respect the game, which was very hard in the state I was in, but. He's basically said to Shiv at tea time, I mean at lunchtime, we're going to have to declare. You've got to get to 200 quickly. And Shiv went from 170 to 190 in 2 hours. because 9 of his teammates were like green on the balcony with hangovers, like you'd not believe. So Jeff's then in the end, Jeff's then gone out. Because I remember Mark Davis went out to bat, and Davis was like, he said, Shiv just turned around and went, "Don't look at the balcony. Don't look at the balcony. Don't look at the balcony." He's been a proper team man. And anyway, Jeff's managed to get out there and send a message to Shiv and say, "Shiv, hurry up. We're going to do it at the end of this over." So Shiv blocked the first 4 balls of the over. 190 not out. He's at the next one for 4. He's at the last one of the over for 6. Got 200 and walked off. And that was just the class of the man. He was thinking of his teammates who were hungover, but he was also just a brilliant, brilliant player.
What sort of thanks did he get when he walked back into the dressing room?
Very big thanks. Very big thanks. Yeah, very big thanks. And then the following day we went on an end of season trip to Dublin for 4 days for a rest. So Devo, Benke, they were all on that trip. They know what the crack was with it. But for me, that not only are they great players, they're great people as well.
Couple of quick ones on your team, Harmy. I mean, first of all, Chubby, what do you reckon to that team? What's your kind of reaction to that team?
I mean, it's a fantastic 11, and I would have loved to have played with a lot of those guys. Obviously, I didn't play with that many of them. Obviously, John Lewis I did, and Collie, and obviously Harmy's been very modest and not selected himself. And Booney's in mine as well. Was probably the biggest influence, I think, in this club in terms of making a pretty ordinary outfit in terms of how competitive we were and just how confident we were. Booney had the biggest influence, I think, in terms of turning us into a competitive side. But there's several others on there that I would like to have played with as well.
And we're going to come to yours in a second. Harmy, who's captaining? I mean, Benke has got to be up there. There's a couple in there that you look at and think, oh.
It's so hard. I think Benke has to captain. I think he was. It's like Benke didn't care what situation you were in. It was. I mean, there was many times. Benke would always, he had this great saying, I think Ben Stokes has learned a little bit from Dale Benkenstein, that Benke was quite happily risking losing a game to win every game he wanted to play, and that was the beauty about Dale Benkenstein. There was a game here against Kent. Kent were 1 down at tea time on the last day, and it was an overcast day like this, and nobody takes 9 wickets in a session. I mean, very rarely do you take 9 wickets in a session, and he believed that we could win. And he came up, had the conversation. He said, "Look, give me 4 overs. If we don't get through the first 4, break through the first 4 overs, we'll write you off and we'll write the game off." And we won with 2 overs, I think 3 overs to spare when it was in the dark. And Benke always believed from whatever situation we could win. So as much as Booney taught us a lot and he gave respect for the club, Collie was an excellent captain here, won multiple trophies. In that side, the team I played in, I would arguably say Benke was probably the best captain I ever played for.
But what strikes me about that team is there's leadership all the way through it. Like you say, you've got Collie in there, obviously you've got Benke, you've got Boone, you've got obviously your top Stokesy as well has got to be in there. But with Benke, is it about that influence? I mean, you talked there that he's always going to go for the win. That's obviously fed down to the current England captain, Ben Stokes.
He was a brilliant man manager. He was a brilliant man manager, and he was also brilliant at understanding what players needed.
Yeah.
So Colonel would come in at ridiculous o'clock in the morning, never worry about Benke, would never worry about that, and but he would make sure he pushed him into situations where if he made a mistake, Benke would be, do you think? And he let you have the rope, and as long as you didn't sort of yank it too hard from the opposite way, the negative way, Benke was quite happy to you being yourself and understanding what makes you tick. He had a brilliant cricket brain, and he was a great man manager.
It's an absolutely class 11. Chubby, what are you reckoning? What's stronger in that 11, the batting or the bowling?
Jimmy. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to split. I mean, you've got some, like you say, you've got some serious all-rounders in that team as well. I would have to say that Phil Mustard's probably one of the best all-rounders that the club's had. I think sometimes wicketkeepers get overlooked in that particular frame, but he is definitely. I don't think it's a bad bowling attack either, to be fair. I just don't know who's going to bowl into the wind, because I'm not.
That would be putting as someone else, wouldn't it? Army, you can answer. It's your team. Who's bowling into the wind?
Pudsy's the biggest frame. He's the most energetic, and he's the strongest out. Yeah. So if you got Liam and said Liam will bowl one end all day, it would be into the wind comfortably.
I'll tell you what, it's a blooming strong team, which means that you're going to have to go somewhere, Chubby, to pick a team that betters that. Yeah. So let's have a look at yours. That's Harmy's team. This is Simon Brown's team. And there's a few familiar names still in there that have made it into both. Obviously, we've got Colonel in there. Certainly David Boone in there as well. But you've changed things up, and you haven't named yourself, and you've named Steve Hampton. What's the matter with you two? Why are you being so humble and so nice amongst you?
To be honest, I really struggled with this because it is so difficult to narrow it down to 11. Yeah. If somebody said, can you pick your top 50, it would have been a piece of cake. But actually picking 11 is really, really difficult. Yeah. I mean, just at the top of the order there, Wayne Larkins. Anybody who saw Wayne play for sort of any period of time, Wayne was one of the best players I ever saw. In the way that one-day cricket is played now, and whether it's the IPL or the Big Bash and what have you, Wayne would have been one of the richest cricketers in the world right now, because he would have been the first one on a lot of people's team sheets. He was a fantastic striker of the ball, and again, I'm going back a number of years now, but Wayne was always the one that the other opening batsmen around the county circuit used to talk about. That's what they would like to play like. Wayne had to be in mine, and I had the great fortune that he left Northampton, came to Durham about the same time as me, so I didn't actually have to play against him. Because it was just a standing joke on the circuit that you were going to get a good nedding, and that was it. It was Ned Larkins, and you were going to, you're going to be on the wrong end of it. And he's such an entertaining player to watch. The faster somebody bowled it, the better. It was great to watch him take on the quick stuff.
And he's opening with Graham Fowler as well.
Yeah, Foxy again, very, very very different sort of player. But Foxy came again into that team where I think joined second year, if I remember rightly. And again, we were sort of struggling, but some of the senior guys who came in, and just great characters as well as great players as well, where we knew it was going to be a challenge. And Jeff, I know we talked about Jeff Cooker all the time, and Jeff did a great job at assembling really good characters in the team as well. And I think particularly those first few years where things were tough, getting the likes of Graham coming in and obviously Beefy, and Phil Bainbridge, again, probably not another name that people would have sort of associate as one of the Durham greats. Baines is a really, really good all-round cricketer, and again, another really good a good character to have in that sort of team at that time. He was also captain when Brian Lara got 500, but we'll not go into that in any sort of great detail. But
you have to have 1 weak link in there, don't
you? You do definitely. And obviously mentioned David Boone's in there as well. So I said earlier on there, Boone I think was such a huge influence on this club in a positive way, turning a team that. Belief was one of the things that Booney talked about a lot, and I don't think we had a great amount of belief as a team, and that was certainly something that he sort of changed massively, and we became a really difficult team to beat when Booney was around. And Jimmy Daly, I love playing with Jimmy. Jimmy was a fantastically talented player who was unfortunate with some injuries. He had fingers made of poppadoms, unfortunately. So every time he got hit on the hands, he used to break something. But Jimmy I always thought he was really unfortunate. But I think he was one of the best young players that came through. If he'd joined Durham maybe 10 years later, I think he would have been an international player.
Yeah. So you get through the top 4, and rather like Harmy's team, what was it? You get through the top 6, and you're faced with Ben Stokes. If you get through the top 4, you're faced with Ian Bolton.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, I'm obviously, everybody knows you kind of people talk about Stokesy now. Beefy and Stokesy are probably the two best that England have produced. Like you say, all-round cricketers. Obviously, Harmy mentioned earlier on about Jimmy Anderson. I mean, phenomenal career that Jimmy's had. But in terms of all-round cricketers, I think both Ben and Ian are the two best that I've seen represent England. And there's quite a lot of other all-rounders in the middle order there as well. I mentioned Phil Bainbridge. Phil was really, I misspelled his name, but never mind.
We'll get onto the graphics department, mate. Don't you worry. I was going to skate over it, but if you want to call out the graphics department, that's fine, mate. Don't worry about it.
Phil was a really good all-round player, and in particular, he was such a great player of spin.
Yeah,
he was a real sort of wizard against spin. It was great to watch him play. Danny Law, who kind of bounced around a couple of counties, Danny really sort of found his feet here as well, and was a really good contributor in the side as well. As was Michael Foster, who's another name who perhaps sort of wouldn't be the top of a lot of people's list. Michael got a century playing opening the batting against Wakar Yunus down at Glamorgan. And I forget who one of the openers got injured, and Foz was the first one to put his hands up and say, "Yep, I'll go in first." And he got 100 in the second innings, and I think he helped us win the game down there, if I remember rightly. And he was another one that just made the most of the ability that he had. Fantastic competitor. Colonel, we've mentioned Colonel before. I only played a really small amount of cricket with him. I wish I'd played more, but again, just age-wise, I'm a little bit older than.
What was it like for you? I mean, Harmy's, I'm sure you've both got a lot of stories to tell about Colonel, and bearing in mind that this is completely PG and this is going out around the world. What were your kind of memories, albeit briefly, of playing alongside Colonel?
Again, fantastically talented, and the worst thing he could do was think about it.
Yeah.
Colonel, just go and use your natural ability. Just go and stand there and strike the ball because it's what you're good at. And like I said, we've joked about Colonel, so he's not as daft as he makes out, which is probably just as well for everybody. But he was a very, very talented player, and just a natural striker of the ball, and just one of those players that you just don't complicate it, just do what you're good at.
Yeah, and this is where things are going to start getting very, very nice indeed. Okay, because I can see one name on that team sheet, right underneath Colonel. Feel free, mate. Floor's yours, Chubby, for the next minute and a half or so. If you want to wax lyrical about Steve Harmison, crack on. Why is he in your team?
Well, I know. I mean, I had to find somebody to bowl the other end. No, I mean, when Steve first sort of came into the team, I think I was actually Harmy's first captain, if I remember rightly. So it was towards the end of one season I took over, like I said, literally for the last sort of half a dozen games or so. And it was just obvious when Steve started, obviously as kind of young, raw, fast bowler, probably a little bit inconsistent at times, but games where things clicked, it was just like, this guy's got a real future. You can just see. We beat, actually funny enough, we beat Northampton in a 4-day game. And again, that was a bit rain affected down there. Probably the best 4-day game of cricket I think I've ever played, where they ended up needing something like 330 to win, and we bowled them out for literally just over 300, I think. And Steve bowled a fantastic spell to finish the game off and picked up the last sort of 3 or 4, if I remember rightly, and just got quicker and quicker as he got into a rhythm and into a routine. And that was the one game, I think probably still only 19 or so at the time, if that. And that was the game where I just thought, we've really got a good one here. And obviously you've seen what's happened since then.
Do you remember that one, Harm?
It was alcohol fueled, that one as well. if you remember right.
Oh, I remember it.
Booney got injured. If we started that game at 11 o'clock, I'd have getting sacked. I know we literally got rained off at 1 o'clock the day before, and we went all the way through. So we're thinking there's no chance it's been like this. And it was the old outfield as well, remember? So there was puddles everywhere. We got no chance of playing, and we nearly started on time. And I slept till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think Booney gave the instructions. Booney got injured during the game. He gave the instruction to John Lewis, and said he bowls until his game finishes. So we had 40 overs to bowl. I think I bowled 17 overs off the trot. And Booney at the end, I think Nicky Phillips took the catch off Devin Malcolm in the dark. He did. And I mean, I was getting faster and faster. And Booney he looked at me at the end. He went, "You're one lucky boy." And I was like, I know. And I was only 19. I remember I just come back from playing under 19.
You could recover from it quickly as well.
Honestly, I do remember it because
99 World Cup was on, wasn't it?
That's right, it was. But the field that we had when Devon walked into bat, we literally had everybody in the slip cordon. And I don't know how many people have actually seen Devon bat. It's not pretty. But the thing is with Devon, if you pitch it up, he's going to swing and he's going to swing hard.
Yeah.
So as Harmy was born, I thought, for God's sake, don't pitch it up. And sure enough, he didn't. He sort of fended one off and Nicky caught it. But literally everybody was just in the slip cordon because that's where it was going. It was going quickly as well. And we just kept edging further and further back, getting away as well. But fantastic game.
Tremendous game. I need to ask the pair of you while I've got you both in the Death and News studio about these car journeys. What were they like coming down from Northumberland between the two of you?
They were quite. We've actually left one person off who I would love to get in this chair.
Go on.
Yeah,
I've
Wacky.
left one. There's one person I'd love to get in this chair over the course of these next few weeks or into the 50 over competition because Alan Walker at number 11.
Yeah.
I came into the team as Alan Walker was coming out of the team. I think Wack got Player of the Year in '97. I think it was, and you came through from Northampton. Came through in Northampton with him, and Alan Walker has been at this club from 1994.
That's right.
1994, and he's still here now.
Yeah.
And I mean what that man's done for this cricket club is ridiculous. I mean, along with Jeff Cook, he has done every job that they possibly can, and what a bowler he was as well.
Brilliant, yeah. And we sort of make jokes about it, who's going to bowl into the wind. I don't think Wacky ever bowled an over with the wind in his life. He was just it's going to be a bit tough bowling that end. There you are, Wacky, you have a go. And he would literally just run through a brick wall for you. And that every team needs somebody like that. And I think sometimes when players are like that, their skill levels sometimes get underestimated. And Wacky was a really skillful bowler as well. Fantastic in the one-day stuff where if you wanted somebody to come in and bowl you 6 Yorkers at the death to try and save a game for you, he would be the first one you would choose.
And just epitomising Durham as well.
Absolutely.
Not just in terms of longevity, but the character there as well, I imagine.
Absolutely.
And you just mentioned there a little bit earlier of Ashton Turner.
Yeah.
I mean, not Ashton Turner, Colin Ackerman. Yeah. Whacking balls and Ollie Robinson saying, you're 185 now. Alan Walker's got the dog stick. He's hiding behind a meshed cage, and he's got a helmet on. Yeah. And he's throwing balls at Colin Ackerman, who's whacking them everywhere. And like I said before, what he's done for this cricket club, I mean, you couldn't put it into words because of the longevity he's had at this club. As a player, second team coach, he's been with the academy, first team bowling coach. He's coached the first team many, many times. He's been with all the management teams. I mean, he epitomises what hard work is. Yeah. Former minor as well, wasn't he?
He was, right.
Former minor. Wack was a top man.
Great character.
Great character for this cricket club.
And absolutely sums up Durham as well. I mean, like you say, good clubs are made up of good people. Always. It doesn't matter whether it's cricket, any sport. It has to have good people in. And that's what kind of resounds not just with Alan there, what you mentioned in terms of Chubby's team, but across both of those teams. There's good people and good characters throughout it, isn't it, Chubby?
Yeah, definitely. And you spend so much time with people in the dressing room, you have to get on with each
other.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, like you say, you look at the 22 that's being picked there, they're all great characters.
Okay, so you're not getting away with it that easily. What about these car journeys? Come on.
So when Steve first started, as I think he said, I don't think he actually had a driving licence. Probably wasn't old enough.
No.
And I think if I remember rightly, it was a year that I'd had a knee operation, so I'd missed quite a few games and I wasn't going to play very much. So I ended up being Harmy's taxi for a little while. So basically, it was when Norman Gifford was coach, and Giff was brilliant. He was a fantastic coach. Giff would say to me, right, he said, I need you to pick Harmy up, and can you take him wherever we were playing? Yeah. And he said, but you can come down, you can stay. He said, but whatever you do, don't take him out. Don't lead anybody astray. On the basis that you're allowed to come down and you can come and stay for a few nights and what have you. So that was the strict instructions. It didn't always go that way, I've got to say. But yeah, we had some fun.
Not old enough to drive, but old enough to drink.
Yeah, not old enough to drive, not good enough to drive. Nobody would let me loose in it. Nobody would let me loose in a car. I was bad enough, but with a cricket ball in my hand. But they were great times. Yeah. I mean, they were brilliant times. No camera phones, no social media. I mean, it was not lads on tour, but it was young players being fortunate, young human beings who've been given fortunate enough to be given a chance to earn to earn some decent money, play a professional sport, a game that we loved. So I don't think we disrespected that. But we had a good time, and that listening to Ben Stokes talk to the way he talks about the England cricket team, and having had conversations privately with Ben, it's about it, when you go on tour, wherever you go, you're seeing new part of the country, new part of the world. Enjoy the fact that you're there. Make the most of the fact that you're there, because you've been given a privilege to represent a county, a country. So respect it, but enjoy the fact, because it goes like that. My 18-year career, You know, it went like that. You know, I represented this club for 18 years, and I feel as though, you know, it wasn't that long ago. I was just come through the time tunnel, getting dropped off at Bolton to at Chubb's house to sort of me bag of sweets, me bag of cassettes, and we were off, and we were going somewhere down the country to play. Now it's all changed, because what would you have made the buses were brilliant, right? But it was bad enough in the cars when there was just like 2 of us or 3 of us. But to be on a bus with everybody as well, that was always a challenge.
It was, yeah. It was also a bit of a logistical challenge. The first time we ever did it, we picked up Beefy down at Scotch Corner, and he turned up, and he looked like Roy Chubby Brown, the outfit that he had on. And he turned up with a crate. He had bottles of wine. He had a crate, something like this, and I was like, "Oh, crikey, what's this going to be like?" And we literally got as far as Doncaster before we had to stop for refills. And I was like, "Right, okay." And I think we were going down to Sussex, and then from Sussex we were going on somewhere else. Hence the coach rather than sort of driving. But yeah, that was probably the first time that we did it. And again, it was really good fun getting everybody together. Yeah. The worst kind of thing about it is that when it's time to come home, and it's like, actually, if I jump in the car, regardless of where we are, I can get back in 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. On the coach, you're looking at kind of 7 or 8, and then you've still got to drive back home from the ground. Anyways, that wasn't great, but really good for sort of getting everybody together. And I think I rang the lads when they won the first championship. I rang Jeff and I rang Harmy as well, and you could hear all the lads on the bus having a great time. It's like, that's when it really makes a difference.
That's the best day of my cricketing life. That
county champ.
Coming back from Canterbury, we went into the Dartford Tunnel in second place of the championship. We came out of the Dartford Tunnel as champions. I mean, it was so good. We knew we had a chance of doing something special on that day at Canterbury. Thorpe bowled brilliant. Cal Thorpe, I remember the day before I broke my wrist, I was standing at gully and Geraint Jones has hit one, and as he's hit one, I've sort of gone up, and as I've gone up, me sort of visor, my cap has just gone up a little bit, and I've straight into the sun, and I've turned like that, and the ball's hit me right on the wrist, broke my left wrist, and I remember sitting in the dressing room the next morning, and when you've got an injury like that, you can bowl at any point. You don't have to be on the you don't have to stay on the field. And I'm sitting, and Jeff was getting anxious. JJ was obviously batting coach at the time. He was getting anxious. I was like, I can't be in here anymore. I was going. So I went and I bowled, and then come off field and fine leg. I think Scott Borthwick was our young 12th man at the time. And I went on, bowled the last few overs from down the hill while Thorpe was swinging at miles. And then when we won, took the last wicket. Still, for me, is that is the best day of my cricketing career. People were like, 2005, not even close. This was my club. This was my people. This is what I wanted to achieve as a Durham player. To win the championship was like unheard of 16 years in. And then walk off the field. I walked off the field arm in arm with my brother. Ben was playing at the same time. So to have that, and it was great. I got the wicket, and there I am lying. Everybody's on top of me, and all you can see is like this arm cast out, trying not to get on. And we went on the bus. We had, I think, Jeff and Nige had a race in. Like they both had like it was like the what was the Mankini. Borat. Yeah. They both had that on. They're having this race up and down. I mean, it was just a carnival. We finished second in the championship. We think we're second. Yeah. And we then get on the bus. Right, we've got to go. Gets on the way, and as we're going, Notts are losing more and more wickets. Yeah. And we're going, hold on, we might win this. And we're going, we might win this. And we got to Dartford, and it was like the last wicket's going to be taken. And as the ball went up in the air for the last catch, we got into the tunnel. So we come out of the tunnel, and they've took the catch. They've lost. Durham have won the championship. All hell's gone in the bus. Bedlam's gone. I remember Chubb rang. There's quite a few people rang congratulating us. And I remember, the chief at the time, David Harker, he was like, right, behave yourselves, drink as much as you want. There is going to be a celebration when you get back, but please don't go to service stations. You cannot be seen in a service station where people are sober. So the bus driver had to stop twice. He stopped we stopped close to Peterborough, I think it was, in a pub, and then we got to Wetherby, and we stopped in a pub at Wetherby because he had to have his driving time. It was one of the best afternoons I've ever had, because nobody can leave. It's like Chubb celebrating. You go into town, and 3 go off there, and then 3 get left behind, and 2 get left behind. And then within an hour, nobody really sees each other. You can't get away from each other on a bus, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. That, along with coming home on the Friends Provident final, it didn't mean as much to me for that. It meant an awful lot, but not as much because obviously I wasn't playing, I was injured. but the Canterbury bus trip, that for me is the biggest highlight of my entire career.
And no one was driving, I presume, on that day, were there?
No
one missed out.
We ended up having taxis to get home, and then obviously had friends and family brought us back for our cars. About 3 days later, when we eventually sobered up. But I mean, to win the championship on the last day, 16 years into existence, with Jeff Cook front and centre. Because I mean, what we haven't said about Jeff was, is he put us all together.
Yeah.
Everything you've seen on them, the names on there, Jeff signed every single one of them.
Yeah.
If he didn't sign them, he brought them through from a 11, 12, 13-year-old. I mean, this ground, I know we live in a sponsorship world. Yeah. This ground should be named the Jeff Cook Stadium, because what that man means to this cricket club and what he's done for this cricket club, I don't think you can put a monetary term on it.
100%. Yeah. I was going to assume he is head coach of both teams, isn't he?
He's got to be. I think
assistant
coach.
We give some headaches.
We did. We did. Yeah, he dealt with them pretty well, to be fair to him. So,
No headache there, Mo. So I have to ask, because we're going to have to wrap this up. Captain of that team, Chubby, just for you.
It's got to be Booney.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be Booney. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the big question of the entire one: which team's winning? County Championship. You've got a 5-day game. Who's winning?
That is a good question.
Home or away?
Because that was
right here in Chester Street.
That was the thing. That was the thing when we asked in the WhatsApp group and Chubb put this team on. Yeah. I did comment very, very quickly back that we'd be very very good home side, but that side wouldn't be a very, very good away side. It would not be a very, very good away side.
Be a good sociable team. Really good sociable team. If you wanted an ambassador team to go somewhere, that's your boys.
mind you, they didn't struggle either. Benito, Benkenstein. I mean, they looked after themselves away from home as well. Colonel. There's no surprise in any teams when you're picking the social sides. I think Phil Mustard would be front centre and possibly captain of that social team as well.
Shall we call it a draw?
Yes.
Honourable
draw, which the after drinks in either dressing rooms would be very, very entertaining.
I wouldn't turn down an invitation to that post-match party. I guarantee that. Yeah. It would be cracking. Listen, lads, thank you very, very much for that. Absolutely sensational fun. Obviously, it's raining outside at the minute, but we're making the best out of the bad situation, I would like to say. We do have an update from the Seat Unique Riverside here in Chester Street. Obviously, if you are tuning in to Durham Live, to us here in the Daft News studio, and you're after some news and you're wondering, why the heck is there 3 blokes on my screen and why am I not watching any cricket action? It's because the rain is falling still at Chester Street, which is causing a bit of a problem for any play this Sunday afternoon between Durham and the Northamptonshire Steelbacks. There is a pitch inspection at 4 o'clock UK time. That's in about 37 minutes time or so. So we will keep you updated for that. But I feel like we've spoken enough. We're going to have a little lie down in a dark room somewhere with our fingers crossed that the rain will stop falling. But from all of us here on Durham Live, for now, we will catch you as soon as there is an update here from Chester Street. And like we say, fingers crossed, there will be some play in the Vitality T20 Blast 2024 this Sunday afternoon. Thank you for watching us for now. We'll be back whenever we have any updates.